Welcome to Liberty Talk. So I have an amazing woman sitting backstage ready to try to help Canada actually do something about the UN takeover of our country. Her name is Maggie Braun, and you may have seen one of her videos where she went viral having success in Peterborough, Ontario, in actually explaining to the low-level councils what's actually happening. And she managed to stop it with the methods that she used in waking up local council as to what's actually going on. So I'm going to show you guys two clips about what it's about. And then she's on Substack now. You guys are going to all want to follow her. You guys are instantly going to want to go to every place that she has, and she'll tell us to show us how we can do this in our local towns and actually possibly get success. I've been trying to track her down for a while, and then finally Kyle Cardinal just sent me her stuff out of the blue. And so I'm just so happy to have her back there. She is going to talk about, I believe it's how, I think I have the number right. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. 500 out of the 2,500, I don't know if it's districts or towns of the UN agenda, 500 are Canada. So we are leading the way of giving away our sovereignty to the UN. And so I'm going to start with showing you guys a couple clips about what she did, and you may recognize the clips, but since then she has written so much more and has so much more to tell us. Now, first off, normally I also do my AquaCure ad, and I want to say I'm not even going to bother today because, as most of you guys know, Norb has gone pretty much blind in one eye. They're pretty sure it's Naion, N-A-I-O-N. Norb is my husband. And men are naughty, and you know how you want husbands to go to the doctor or take naturopathic stuff or use things you have. So he hasn't been using the AquaCure machine, the hydrogen machine. And I've been chasing him to use it for like a year. I'm so busy. He's back and forth to see his kids in Kelowna. And, we almost got in like domestics about it, like sit your ass down and do it. You can even use your laptop while you're doing it, but he's so busy and stressed out, he hasn't been using it. So Norb just had a consultation with the best like Naion doctor in America. And he's actually going to go down and see him. And when he was talking about things Norb should be doing right away, one of them was hydrogen. He said, get a hydrogen machine, get that hydrogen onto your eye, get that hydrogen into your water. And, I gave him crap. And I told this guy, we have one sitting here and he hasn't been using it. And he won't listen to his wife. He knows it's amazing, but just men, you know how they are. They won't sit down and do anything for themselves. So he is going to get back on that machine and do it like he's been told to do it, because it really can help the eyes. I already knew this. George Weissman told us. And so he got a big spanking from this doctor that he hasn't been using it, and he should have been using it, especially right when it first happened where he started to go blind. So he's using it. So I can't recommend enough, you guys. One of the main things this fellow does down in New Jersey is hydrogen, along with like 5 other things. And we're going to send Norb down there as soon as we can to get treated. So there's the ad for it. AquaCure.life. You can get your own hydrogen machine, especially if you are finding that you're having eye problems. So anyways, all right, I am going to show you guys these clips.
Plan for the community, for any community, should be dependent on the engagement with those who live and work in that community, not those from outside that community, and certainly not those from international organizations. This plan is essentially a plan to dissolve this dear county of Duro-Dummer. By accepting this plan, you're accepting that Duro-Dummer will one day be dissolved and amalgamated even further into this bigger structure.
And finally, that the provincial government be requested to expedite the introduction of the new provincial planning statement.
Regarding Maggie Braun's presentation, I think we should look at some of these consideration for our township. through the staff. And maybe we could, see if there's anything there that can keep us alive. You know, if this is, facts that's going on, I think we need to, stand up and be accountable. So I would like you to review some of the suggestions that she made, and maybe, we should send those, forward. Before,
When I keep hearing the maps, the mapping isn't even officially yet, it's basically old stuff, so I don't see how the county of Peterborough can pass something that they don't even have all the information on. Another thing that for our township, is the low growth rate that they've established over the next, till what is it, 2051, something like that. Like, I think it's 5% or something like that. I mean, that isn't even gonna keep us status quo for getting.
Sit here in good faith and say that I would support Peterborough County's official plan, because it is essentially a death sentence for this municipality. Growth rate is incredibly low. There's nothing quote unquote in it for the township whatsoever. It completely stagnates growth. It limits the rights of property owners quite significantly. And as Councillor Law pointed out, it feels like a lot of the designations were arbitrarily made, especially with in respect to what's considered prime agricultural land.
With the low growth that we're looking at in the official plan for the township, it's unsustainable. Again, the mapping has not come out for all of the agricultural land.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor just to send a letter of support to support the referral of the approval of the plan. All right. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion carries. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion carries.
Success because of Maggie. So we can do it. A little bird just reminded me, I forgot to tell you, aquacure.life, you get 5% off if you use the promo code Liberty spelled normally. Okay, I'm going to show you one more video and we'll bring our hero on.
Peterborough.
Please commence.
Great. Having already stated my name, like the majority of the population, I was raised to believe that climate change was a threat to our planet. I took ecosystem management at Sir Sandford Fleming College in Lindsay. In my spare time, I researched the science behind climate change in the hopes that one day I would work for the UN. I found in my research that the doomsday predictions were based on flawed science and stemmed from unelected international organizations. The policies that they are recommending have undermined our rights and our sovereignty. And I would like to give a background on that before I address the reports on your agenda tonight. In 1992, Canada signed on to the UN Agenda 21. A total of 178 nations agreed because this international agreement promised to bring big money for going green. Quote, once signed, Canada became a UN member state, a nation state, and was no longer a sovereign country under the rule of law and the supremacy of God. And everything I'm stating tonight, I will send you all the documentation to, and from their own words stating what I'm saying. It was then that all towns in Canada and every other country that signed on were, in a sense, abandoned and merged with others to form UN city-states, of which Peterborough is now one. By the year 2000, we saw countries now being governed by the direction of the United Nations, the G7, the G20, the Council of Foreign Relations, the World Bank, and the World Economic Forum. World Health Organization as well, and the International Council on Local and Environmental Issues. I believe that acronym is pronounced ICLEI, but you can or ISIL. You can correct me which one. Instead of following parliamentary procedures for law changes, the municipal primer, which looks like this, the title of it, the title page, was sent to all our local towns in 1994 and outlined how they would restructure their governments, their municipal governments. In this primer, you will see that our public officials, our elected mayor and council, are now partnered with a private corporation called the City of Peterborough, all caps. This is a private corporation, not a public. And working alongside with that corporation's chief administrative officer, I believe a new one is now in place, Jasbir Reina, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, working alongside him to implement the global agenda instead of a local one, and committing public funds to private sustainable initiatives, development goals, and foreign investors under the guise of saving the planet. Now to look at your reports. First report, PEAC 23-010. Here is a plan. In here is a link to a plan that identifies measures required to achieve net zero by 2050. The measures in that plan include a vague reference to targeting mobility. This report would nominate one of you to sit on an upcoming advisory group hosted by an unnamed consultant. And this is set to launch this July. I assume this project consultant is connected with ICLEI. In report PEAC 23002, it states that Peterborough declared a climate emergency in 2019. I would like to know what local event triggered such a declaration and submit to the common sense of Peterborough residents that this was not caused by any local event or catastrophe and is therefore linked to the declaration therefore linked to the UN's global agenda and not the local agenda of the residents of Peterborough. This report states that the city participated in ICLEI Canada's Advancing Adaptation Project and received a grant for $15,000. Big money for going green, and I'm sure that is not the only amount of money that this council has received from ICLEI over the years. Most disturbingly, it states that the recent reductions in greenhouse gas emissions were primarily the result of the COVID-19 pandemic and how it modified our travel patterns. This is repeated again in report PEAC 23-009. When you put this together with the previous statement about targeting mobility, the question of whether the sacred mobility rights of the residents of Peterborough are at stake, and if your participation in furthering this agenda is not a violation of your oath to uphold the Constitution of Canada, along with our Bill of Rights, and if so,
No idea why it did that. It's not me, but we're almost done. Just listen to the audio.
may this be a verbal warning, a verbal notice, that if you proceed with passing this agenda item, that's just where it ends.
Okay, I'm going to remove it. One sec here. Maggie, thank you for coming. You are very busy, and thanks for everything you're doing.
Well, I think we're all getting a little tired of the nonsense. So there's just warriors, heroes, experts, competent people with courage all across Canada that are putting their energy and their their life energy and skills into addressing the problems that we have, and we want solutions. We don't want to just go around and around with the same problems, and we're figuring out how to address it.
Yeah, the first thing is even waking up all the sleeping snoozers. So Kyle sent me your Substack. You know how to do a presentation. So should we talk about, am I right that you said that of the 2,500, is it towns that have agreed to this? 500 are in Canada?
So there's over 4,000 municipalities in Canada. 500 of them have partnered with the Partners for Climate Protection program. I'm sure that there are many more that are members of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, which also pushes the sustainable development agenda. So we are digging into all what are called UN directive programs, and finding that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has these programs. The Federation of Canadian Libraries has these programs, and the way that they and these programs are voluntary, and that the way that they're partnering with them is by adopting a simple motion that is put through a meeting, and then the next thing we know, the decision-making options for the councils, the libraries, the school boards are limited to within that UN directive scope. So one of the ways anyway, I don't like to say the only way to do anything, because there's 100 different ways that need to be looked at and moved forward, but is to put this back before them and recommend it to be reconsidered, and then provide education on why that is, and to show the council that this is a benefit to them and the municipalities, and get them to rescind the motion. So that's where we're at now.
I noticed that in one of those videos, you said, I'm sure you guys are getting money to do this. There's evidence that all parts that are agreeing to do this are getting money to agree to it, right?
That's right. Yeah. In the municipalities, there's something called the Green Municipal Fund. And it seems like, so we pay our taxes at the local level, and a portion of that goes to the federal government, and they put it in this Green Municipal Fund. And then the only way to get it back is to implement these sustainable development goals. So that's one of the things that's happening. And
okay, so it is the Canadian taxpayer that's paying for it. Is there any top-down trickle money coming in from out of the country?
It is, yeah. It's coming through an organization called ICLEI, the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the Partners for Climate Protection Program website, it states right there that this program is funded by the Canadian government and ICLEI, mm-hmm. and that
is ICLEI United Nations? Is it the
It is. Yeah.
Okay, so is it the central bankers then most likely behind United Nations doing this?
So it seems to be made up of the top corporations like Google and all of those guys. So I have to look in a little bit deeper into that, but it's definitely connected to the United Nations and pushing that agenda. So it's called a UN directive program. So
I am going to look into, and I'm sure I have really smart viewers. There's some topics they know more than me. I'd like to see where the money's coming from truly to push ICLEI.
Yes.
I have a feeling it's the central bankers as well as the big corporations that are buying off our governments.
Yep. And buying up our land afterwards. And on their website, it says that though the government of Canada is funding this, they hold no liability for the program. So
just like the vaccines, isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So really our counselors are holding the liability for implementing these programs, and they don't even know it.
that is what they need to know. And that is what you were showing them, correct? So
Yes.
for everybody watching this, we're going to go through what the problems are. Maggie has a presentation. I won't keep interrupting, but then she has solutions. So keep this, you must keep this episode, download it, whatever you need to do, bookmark it. I'm going to put it all over because the solutions are there. And where can people get in touch with you if they have questions, or you're going to get into, you've prepared something for everybody, a package, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Take it away. You can
So
do
before we go into that, the presentation in Peterborough, the second one that you showed, that was my first deputation on this material. So we've learned a lot since then, and there are some things that were stated in there that I was on the right track, but I hadn't fully gotten down to how this was happening. So so people can find my work on Gather 2030, and you can see how it's developed. And I would just recommend that you stay on top of it, because the information develops quite rapidly now that we're on the right track.
Gather2030.com or CA?
Gather2030.substack.com. So it's a newsletter.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so do you want to keep going? You can do the presentation.
Okay, so I'll share my screen and we'll put up the.
Okay. Just waiting for your screen.
Let me just see which one here. I had it up, and
that's what happens during shows. Don't worry. My audience has sat through a lot with my tech problems. All right, here we go.
Okay, so this is when we first started. We started with KICLI Primer 1, and KICLI stands for Kicking the International Council Out of Local Environmental Initiatives. And we took the ICLI logo and we put a little guy kicking it out there. And that was the kickoff of KICLI. And information about ICLI, learning about that is also added to the background knowledge and providing that base of knowledge that allowed us to see forward into the solutions. And also an understanding that the Sustainable Development Agenda 21 goals are not beneficial to the small towns and rural areas across Canada. So it's a lot easier to go to those areas and make a difference in the councils, because we can show them that these official plans and these programs are actually a death sentence to the municipalities. And that, when you think about it, that's the majority of Canada's land mass. So we can save most of Canada from this program just by addressing our town councils in an effective way. Mm-hmm. And that's how we started. We thought, okay, let's start doing deputations. We're meeting for rallies across from City Hall every Saturday. And I'm looking at the town hall thinking, I think we need to redirect our energy because we're not getting anywhere here. And that's when we started the deputations.
I liked it in one of your videos where you said, do you guys realize you're like voting for your own extinction, where we won't be managed locally anymore? We're going to be managed by like big corporations and the UN.
Yes. Yeah. When you list them all, it's quite shocking. And
did you ever read the book Behind the Green, is it Veil or Mask?
Oh, yes, Behind the Green Mask. I've watched a lot of Rosa Quarry's work from the United States.
She came on my show. She came on my show before she passed away. And every single thing she said that was going to happen if we don't stop it is happening.
Oh, wow. What an honor to meet her. I would have loved to.
She's so sweet. Yeah.
Yes. So we're finding that, the solution to globalism is localism, and this is right out of their own playbook, right? So this is Justin Trudeau. He's speaking to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and right on on the backdrop, it says local action, national results. So as much as we see the Agenda 21 being a national issue and we want out of the agreement, they're downloading this agreement to our municipalities for implementation. It's not being implemented at the national level. It's being implemented at the municipal level. And this is where the people have a lot more opportunities to organize effectively and push back through the means that we have, through deputations and public awareness and working with the councillors and recommending the motions that and moving on from there. So we do have a lot of power to push back on this agenda at the local level, and it's really the only place that we need to.
And so you'll show, if not, I'll just ask you, are you going to be showing what they actually want to do to our rural areas?
Yes.
Okay, because it's not good at all.
Absolutely. It's in their official plans. So right after I spoke in Peterborough, the Prime Minister flew in and spoke to the Mayor, Jeff Leal, and the CAO, Jasbir Reina. That's him there on the right. And, we really stirred the pot and got the councillors and mayors in the lower tier municipalities talking. And of course, that video went viral, and it got people aware of the fact that Agenda 21 is being implemented in our municipalities and has changed the way that our municipalities are operating. So then we went to Duro Dummer, and that's where we had our first big success, which you presented. And that's about a 16-minute video, and it went really well. We filled the room. There was 65 people there to support the deputation. And afterwards, we pointed out that the official plan was based on inaccurate mapping that painted the entire municipality as prime agricultural. That would mean that the landowners there would be limited in their ability to sever the land. And we pointed out that the growth rate in the official plan for Duro Dummer was very low, and that it was essentially a death sentence to that municipality, and that the official plan was done by the city clerk, who isn't even from the area, and she did it in consultation with international consultant groups. And all they did for public consultation was put a link online, didn't notify anyone, and at the beginning of farming season. And afterwards, and I also pointed out that the mayor and the council, the elected representatives, they are the government, and the city staff is not the government. And it's time that they step into their true authority and protect the people from these agendas. And that really turned their heads. And afterwards, when the CAO read the motion that she wanted passed, and it was to expedite the official plan, in the end, you can see that motion changed to deferring the official plan. And when it does come back with the proper mapping done by the province, that it would be brought through a proper public consultation process. So that was a big win, and we still have that plan on hold here in Peterborough County. And now we have a lot more information to share with the councillors there.
If, let's say, the local people you're just talking about say no, do they lose access to this like slush fund of money coming in?
Well, that's something to be looked at. Ultimately, they're going to have to, how do we say? I believe, if they withdraw from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the membership for that is quite expensive. And same with some of these other programs. So they'll save money, and they'll grow their community by exiting these programs, and save their community, and their economy will grow. Their the population growth grows.
Yeah. Us city people have no idea what's happening in rural areas. I have people emailing me going, Odessa, I saw your UNDRIP episode and it's so true. Now we can't do this with our property. We can't do this with our property. They've just tripled our taxes. The hospitals around us are closing. It's so obvious they want us out.
Yep. Yeah, they want us off the land. That is
And into the
purpose.
human settlement zones. And we're watching it happen. And just like Rosa Cora said, they won't come with SWAT teams to get you out. If you say no, they'll bankrupt you into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Mhm.
And
Okay, take it away.
okay, so this is another article which was first sent to you, how Agenda 21 is being implemented through Canadian municipalities and how to stop it. And this is a little speech on the Hill that I gave recently at the Emergency Act Commemoration Day. And so this is the basic information that we're sharing with people. So I can run through that. Most of your viewers will know, so I'm going to keep it short and get into the good stuff. So basically, Canada signed on to Agenda 21 in 1992. And Agenda 21 is the United Nations agenda for the 21st century. It's not the agenda for 2021. It's for the entire 21st century. And then we have Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2050, which are for those years. And what do Canadian municipalities have to do with Agenda 21? Well, in 1994, so 2 years after Canada signed on, the United Nations sent a municipal primer to all of our Canadian municipalities promoting sustainable development through local strategic action. And this is the front page of that document. And on page 9 is a flow chart of how Agenda 21 is being implemented through Canadian municipalities. And this is a blueprint for achieving sustainable development. And if you notice the means of implementation, it's promoting education, public awareness and training, and information for decision making. So
Can I ask, what is so sustainable about their idea? When I used to hear sustainability before COVID, I thought it meant like we all have to be growing gardens and using materials that are this and that. And now it's just, they're saying climate change, but a really great scientist I showed on my show a long time ago, one of his videos, Canada is but a drop in a bucket of the pollution. It's China, it's India. I'm not, we're a joke in that. And we have a tiny population and they're saying pollution, but they're bringing in immigrants. So it's like, well, how bad is, so the point being like, there's nothing sustainable about this. They're coming back to take our land and put us into human settlement zones. What is it that these people are saying is going to do? Like what is their sustainability that we all go, oh, you're so right, let's leave our land?
Well, they're saying that they're saving it for future generations. So, but if you look at the results of 30 years of so-called sustainable development, you'll just take a drive through rural Canada, rural Ontario, I know for sure. You'll see that all the towns, they're dying. They're being downgraded to villages, and the villages are being downgraded to hamlets, and the hamlets are turning into ghost towns. And there's abandoned homes all throughout the countryside, and the land is left unoccupied, and people can't even afford to buy a home anymore. And yet we're being driven into the cities, and the homelessness is piling up all around us. And it's not good for our mental health and the hope for the next generation to live in this kind of a situation. So,
and this carbon tax, people are already showing that it's doing nothing for carbon. It's doing nothing to get rid of carbon. Another thing Rosa Quarry said is one of the first things they'll do is they will stop funding hospitals around small towns. And it's interesting that that's happening through the absolute slaughtering of our healthcare system. We have nurse shortage, doctor shortage, they're underpaid, they're not getting what they need, but then the administration, the amount of people in administration is skyrocketing. They're spending all the money on administration. My own doctor told me that. When they say we're funding this, we're funding that, we're doing this, we're doing that. No, they're pumping the paychecks of all these useless admin people and
Yeah.
not putting money into giving our doctors a massive raise, giving our nurses a massive raise, bringing back the unvaccinated. It's like, it's like, maybe it is a bit too conspiratorial to say they're doing this on purpose for the agenda, but boy, is it convenient.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, it's not just the hospitals. They're taking away the libraries in the rural townships. They're taking away the community centers. They're taking away the schools. They're cutting off the infrastructure to these municipalities. And, even and saying it's because of climate change that they don't want natural gas infrastructure to be further expanded into these rural municipalities. So when you look at the definition of sustainable development as it was termed in the Brundtland Commission before Agenda 21 was signed, that's where that term sustainable development was first coined. And it states that land cannot be treated as an ordinary asset controlled by individuals, and public control of land use is indispensable. And again, it goes back to they're trying to say that they're saving it for future generations, all the while making the life of this generation full of hardship and fear and the loss of properties that have been in families for generations. Mm-hmm. And it goes directly against private property rights.
Yep.
And that's what we're finding. So
they're literally breaking the law. Like, it's a cabal. There's no laws are not being followed right now. We have an outside entity coming in to take over. And anyone that reads about all this and can't see it is a damn moron. Absolutely.
But they're so tricky in the way that they do it. So in the municipal primer, it states that this is not intended to be prescriptive, meaning that they're not forcing any of the municipalities to do this. And it's same with this Partners for Climate Protection program, which again, it started in 1994 by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. You can see a little graph there, 1994 until now. And now the annual membership is about 500 municipalities in Canada. But this is, going back to that flow chart, a means of implementation, providing information for decision-making based on Agenda 21 or UN directives. And they offer all these free services and coaching and technical assistance to our local municipal staff. And the basis, their supporting rationale, is climate change and how it's increasing the frequency of extreme weather events and causing a serious threat to our natural environment, health, jobs, and economy. And that then they say, because Canada committed to limiting the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius, because of the Paris Climate Agreement, that is their supporting rationale for this program. So when we're looking at breaking this down and reversing it, we need to do better in our public awareness around these issues. And they've really made it quite easy for us. So this is a presentation I've put together, a slideshow presentation that is available to all of your viewers all across Canada.
And we are going to try to keep this one on Facebook, so you guys can read the title. We don't need to say it.
Okay, perfect.
They're starting to. You'll set off the commie algorithm there, Maggie.
Oh, I know. Okay, I'll avoid that. I hope I didn't say the bad word.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
But there's there's the World Declaration now stating that we're not in a state of emergency. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of published work to support our our stance on this. For instance, 0.3%, only 0.3% of scientists stated that the recent warming is mostly man-made. And of course, the Earth's orbit and tilt drive glacial and interglacial changes, and we can't do anything about that. And the Geological Archive reveals that the temperatures have varied as long as the planet has existed.
But
And
you
the
know
little-
that all the scientists that are coming out and saying this, the only place that's allowing them a voice is Twitter. Everywhere else, they're being censored, taken down,
Yes.
just like the C19er, it's just.
I know. And that's why with this presentation, I'm sticking to commonly known, established science, right? So we're not putting anything up here that every educated person already knows. We already know that there's been ice ages and that we're coming out of it, right? So it shouldn't be any surprise that we're experiencing a period of warming. And it really helps to kind of just put this up and show, this research alone would suggest that human activities have little impact compared to natural factors. And it's not even possible to limit global temperatures to below 2 degrees Celsius.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go into the IPCC and how their models are inaccurate, and that they exaggerate the effect of greenhouse gases and ignore the benefits of CO2 in the atmosphere. And again, this presentation is available. So it's a 10-minute presentation or deputation that people can do in their town halls, their local councils, to their communities.
Okay, and so people can get that presentation where?
Gather2030.substack.com.
You'll probably think like I have wax in my ears, but Maggie, it's because every show people will start emailing me. What do I do again? Where does it? La, la, la. So I literally make people say their website like 4 times through a show.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, and this one's a good one. It shows Canada, which is mainly a boreal forest, and shows how we're a carbon sink, right? Like Canada absorbs over 7 times the amount of carbon we put out. So we already are net zero, and there's really no reason, especially with all the issues that our generation is facing with the cost of living, to be going for net zero policies.
You're right. I read this whole article put up by a scientist showing the amount of trees we have, and that we are not contributing one speck.
Nope.
Not one speck, but Canada is the most progressive about taking our rights away, taking our land. And, the thing is, Maggie, the corporations don't want you telling anybody this, and the UN, because they can't come in and take over.
Yes.
It's like, that's why you're being censored, because the money behind this is astronomical.
Oh yes, you post anything about it and there's warnings on it right away, with taking you to the UN's website so you can know what you're allowed to think.
Yep.
Yeah. And so really back to this Partners for Climate Protection program that's been partnered with our municipalities. It's free. And then we want to point out to the councils, what is the catch, right? And then we go into it.
Free lip piercing. That's kind of like when they wanted people to line up for the jibber jabber, like free donuts. And people ran for donuts.
Absolutely, right? Free lip piercing. So we go into it, and this is really where we start persuading them, right? The municipal plans, once they partner with this program, will be drafted with an emphasis on UN directives, so-called sustainable development, reducing greenhouse gases, and gender diversity and inclusion. You can look over here at the page. Hopefully they can see it. It's a bit small, but it says integrating equity, diversity, and inclusion into municipal climate action So all the plans will be drafted by the Partners for Climate Protection Program once your municipality adopts this program. And
That's
and
why, did you see that one of the biggest problems they think facing us is that we call manholes manholes, you know, those things where don't fall in a manhole. Oh,
right?
well, our government decided that that was not inclusive. They didn't call it tranhole. Instead, they just sent out an entire message to the government workers that work, the city workers that would call it a manhole, saying we're not to call it a manhole anymore. We're to call it something cover.
Oh
This
my
is what we're
goodness.
worrying about right now while people can't get into emergency.
Yes, and this is where it's all coming from. So what we're finding is that these programs are costing our council and committee and the staff time and wages, reviewing endless climate change reports and taking the councillors to the integrity commissioner over basic common sense statements that they might make online. And
This is very obvious that we're heading into a one world government.
mhm,
We have one entity running all our land, and now with the pandemic treaty, the WHO treaty, all our medical laws. That's the UN treaty as well. So when people say the United Nations, that group of people want to run the entire world, it's right in front of us.
yes, it is. And the solutions right there too, you know, the theory of Occam's razor, right? That the solution is usually simpler than you think.
Mhm.
And that's what we're finding. We've been up to this here over in Peterborough and just all across Canada, because there's a group of us working all across Canada on beta testing what works and getting closer and closer. And we're right over the target now with this Partners for Climate Protection program. And and getting better at delivering this information in a professional way to the councils and making recommendations so that they can actually do something about it, right?
And this kind of works hand in hand with UNDRIP, wouldn't you
Yes.
say? Yeah.
Yes.
Is it UNDRIP or is it kind of UNDRIP?
I've been really focused on this aspect of how it's working through the municipalities, but there's a difference between, with the original treaties with the First Nations people. Like there's a takeover of in regard to their land rights, and there's a takeover in regard to our land rights. So this is how they're taking over our rights to the land, and the UNDRIP seems to be, I don't know enough about it to fully comment. Again, I've been absolutely obsessed with this aspect. So
so the good thing is you have this presentation ready for people to go to their local council with. And do you have somewhere that says the same thing you said, like you guys are voting for your own extinction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so that's what, like, this slide covers what we were talking about with the official plans and sustainable development. But I will go back to UNDRIP. I've had people contact me and reach out from the First Nations, and they have said that I'm absolutely on the right track with this, and that it goes hand in hand. And I think a lot of us have a lot to learn when it comes to those original treaties, and that's information that eventually we will our knowledge will come together, and we'll find a way to untangle ourselves from these UN directive programs.
Yeah, the day that the Indigenous realize we're all screwed in this together, instead of, they're trying to cause divisiveness between the non-Indigenous with the Indigenous, get the Indigenous angry at the white man, by telling them, like, we murdered a whole bunch of people, where they haven't even brought up the graves. They don't want to bring up the graves. If they get us all fighting with each other, then we won't band together and say, wait a sec, who's this entity that wants to come in and take everything from us and take away our way of running things,
and they want us off the land, just like they wanted the First Nations people off the land and into reserves. They want us off the land and into the settlement areas, right?
Yeah.
So it's an exact same play, but it's many years later now, and we can see the pattern and move forward from that, because you look at the official plans that come out of the municipalities now that are based on sustainable development. They're restricting the private property rights. They're making it so no one can sever their land. So if something happens, they have to sell the entire property.
Yep.
And they're limiting our mobility.
And we have such a tiny population compared to the size of our country. We have one of the biggest countries in the world with one of the tiniest populations. And they're trying it with us first. I mean, we know the farmers over in Europe, etc. They're literally taking tractors to the offices of these people. There's huge issues going on where the farmers are protesting like you've never seen before, but our news won't show anybody that because they don't want to give Canadians ideas that something's wrong.
That's right. And Canada, this is what dawned on me. You know, I went to the protest in Ottawa. I was there on the last day. All I could think about was all of these people came from all across Canada. You know, the sacrifice that they had to make to be there. Mm-hmm. And all the people that are supporting that could not be here across the country. And, you know, when I came home and I continued to attend events and started to focus on this, I was like, you know what? There's got to be something that we can do all across Canada. Mm-hmm. Canadians can't get to Ottawa in 6 hours. You know, we like they can in Europe. Everyone in France can get to Paris in 6 hours. We can't, but we can get to our town halls. And when we show up with even 60 people, they take note and realize that this is an important issue. So,
well, the UN is pretty damn smart to use us as a testing ground because Canadians are nice. We don't know what's going on. We've never faced war in 2 generations. And they know that we can't do anything because we're also spread apart. So you do have the answer here. So let's keep looking at this then.
Yeah. So the other thing that we're pointing out when we do these presentations in councils is that these programs limit their decision-making options. So their decision-making after they partner and start adopting these Partners for Climate Protection Program compliant municipal plans, their decision-making options are limited to UN directives. And any councillor that opposes those UN directives will face consequences. And again, I like to empower the councillors and mayors and help remind them that the council is the governing body of the municipal corporation, and that they are the custodians of its power, and it's by them adopting these programs or rescinding those programs that they can change this so that their decision-making authority can be restored. So I hope that makes sense. And these programs, the UN directive programs, once they partner with them, it also limits the public consultation. So public consultation is then limited to the UN directives. You'll notice that our public surveys are limited to UN directive options. It's basically pick your top 3 favorite sustainable development action items. What do you want us to do first? There's nothing else.
Coke or Pepsi, right? Coke or Pepsi, Moderna or Pfizer.
Yes. And they're also trying to deny our deputations if they're opposed to UN directives. So I wanted to zoom in on this if I can. No, it won't let me. But this is a letter from the city of Aurelia, and it says that the deputation is denied because the corporation of the city of Aurelia, the council of the corporation of the city of Aurelia, considers its decision-making under the broad umbrella of United Nations directives. This is from a municipality. And because Prime Minister Trudeau is aiming for aiming to achieve Agenda 2030. So, of course, now that we've discovered this Partners for Climate Protection program, we can point out to them that speaking about ICLEI and Agenda 21 is within their jurisdiction because they've adopted a motion to partner with them, and that motion can be rescinded. So we've found a way now to get around these deputations being denied, which is great. And there's a lot of people that have had that problem since I started. I get calls all the time, Maggie, they won't let me in. They're denying my deputation. And now we can direct people to find to the answers for that. So I'll get into that after for your viewers so that they can see whether or not their municipality is partnered. But I'll just finish by saying here that these programs are voluntary and the municipalities can leave the programs at any time. They just need to put forward a motion to rescind and to find the original motion where they adopted the program and rescind that motion. It's that simple. It's a piece of paper, right?
Okay, so all of us, people that call ourselves freedom warriors, we can sit around and bitch and complain.
Yeah.
But unless we actually, you found the solution, unless we actually go into our town halls, would you call it a town hall, city council? What do I call it?
Yeah, so city council usually or town council. Town
Okay.
halls are usually when they do it outside of their municipality building. They'll get a hall and they'll do they'll allow more people to kind of come in and speak without so many
Okay.
rules. But yeah, we have found the answer, at least for this one program.
So think of this, you guys. You can sit on Facebook or Twitter or Rumble, YouTube. With the amount of hours truthers spend finding stuff and sharing it, if you just get off that for 1 week and instead do what Maggie says, look at, is your town or area part of this? If the answer is yes, go to Maggie's Substack and site that she's going to say again before the end of the show and find this and take it there. Call, find out, how does it work? Okay, how does it work? Let's say if they're like, oh, you missed it. If they're like, oh, we're not doing that topic right now. Like, how do you make sure to get in there?
So you'll notice that there is usually an item on the agenda that you can slip this into, because like I said, the most of the things going on in your council are part of Agenda 21 UN directive programs if you're partnered with this program. And so I'm finding that there's many opportunities to slip it in and then go for it. You can also do presentations to different committees as well. So I just did one recently to an environmental committee for Thorold municipality in Niagara. And in Thorold, there is a councillor there, and on last Thursday, he put forward the first councillor in Canadian history to put forward a notice of motion to rescind their resolution to partner with the Partners for Climate Protection program. And I wanted to show your viewers quickly how they can find out if they're partnered. Is that, we got time for that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We need to get through this thoroughly. Don't worry.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is from the Partners for Climate Protection website. You can see it there at the top. And if you go to their membership page, you can see that they have just over 500 municipalities partnering. And
what was the website address?
pcp-ppc.ca.
Okay, I'm going to put that in my description, guys. All right.
So hopefully you can see this here. They have a map of all the municipalities that have partnered with them in Canada.
Yeah, we can see.
And if your municipality is one of the dots, you just zoom in on it. What municipality should I look at here in British Columbia? Odessa?
Let's do Kelowna, BC.
Okay, let's find Kelowna. Good choice. So if you go to Kelowna, you see it has a dot. And if I put my cursor over it, it tells me the year that it joined.
Okay.
So in 2001, Kelowna joined this program. And then, so once you have that information, you just note that. And then you find on their website, when you click on how to join, this is a pre-drafted resolution that one of the city staff will print out and put forward to our councils. And it looks all nice and happy. And it's from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So it must be good. And let me just see if I can get a better view on that. Not really. Anyway, so it's a 3-page resolution, and they put it forward, it gets adopted, and then a corporate staff and an elected official sign it, and then they become responsible for the file, and then the UN directives just start flowing through them. And next thing you know, the strategic plans and municipal plans and healthy environment plans and gender diversity plans all of a sudden just come out of nowhere, and it's from the PCP program putting it through your municipality. So once you have the information that your municipality partnered and the year and the resolution, the title here of the resolution, which is Council Resolution to join the FCM ICLEI Partners for Climate Protection Program, you can email your city clerk and follow up with a phone call and let them know that you're looking for the meeting minutes back in 2001, where the town made a resolution to join the FCM ICLEI Partners for Climate Protection Program. And it might take them a while if it's back in 2001, because they have to go through the archives and get it. But you really want that exact motion and the exact wording of that motion. I'll show you an example of that here.
There's so much corruption right now. Let's say
Yeah.
six more places have success with this. And now they're like, oh God, the Maggie Braun effect is happening all across Canada. If anybody calls, tell them you can't find the file. Because this is what happens, if someone says, we can't find it, I'm sorry, we're busy, what should you say? Like, it's the law. Don't they have to give it to you?
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is completely within the scope that they need to work for us as the public. And the other thing you can do is there's going to be a couple of counselors that would be happy to know that there is a way out of this. The counselors don't even know that they're partnered with this program here in Peterborough. They hide the fact in their environmental committee reports that this program even exists. They just call it the partners.
Well, I have to say, you seemed a lot brighter than most people sitting there.
Thank you.
So we shouldn't assume that like everybody's evil.
Exactly. That is a huge part of this too, to go in there and be polite, to be professional, to dress well, to not have that assumption that they're doing this intentionally, and to put it forward like what we see on the screen here. If you look at your municipal council meetings, that is exactly what they need to see in order to know that you want them to do something. Otherwise, we just go in and we do a 5-minute deputation and we're not clear about what it is that we're recommending, and we want them to do something, but we're not operating with their rules, within their seemingly meaningless rules, right? But this is how things are done.
So why recreate the wheel? Just go in and do what Maggie did because she had success.
That's right. Yeah. And I like it. I saw they're doing a lot of, there's some local developments in the States at the local level. And I love the name of their website. They called it Tactical Civics. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to use that, because that's exactly what this is. It's tactical civics. We have to know what we're doing, and we have to know how to get stuff done in there. And so this was last Thursday, my first time presenting it like this. to the environmental committee in Thorold, and I've never had a reaction since Duro Dummer that showed that I was on the right track and that this is exactly what they needed to see. You know, that they were like, well, what do we do with this? We need to decide, you know, what is our motion? What are we doing with it? So, and then of course the city clerk got in there and it's okay. We're going back in on March 19th, but yeah, we're really up against city clerks that are well trained in implementing this agenda. Same with the CAOs. That's the chief administrative officer over the incorporated aspect of our cities. They are likely well trained in implementing this as well. And basically, there's been a lot of talk since we started this about, you know, the role of the council and the corporate aspect of the city, and how the mayor and the CAO are partnered together, and how the corporate aspect of the city seems to have so much power. Here, I'm just going to put this down. Seems to have so much power. So the reason why that is, well, in the past, the corporate aspect of the city was the mayor and council. They oversaw, they made the decisions, and the CAO, this guy, had to implement it, and he would pass it down the chute to the clerks and the fire department and everything like that, right? But now what's happened is the corporate aspect of the city has snuck it through the council and partnered with international partnerships, and that's made them really strong and powerful, right? And they've binded the decision-making ability of the councils now. So what we want to do is find any UN directive program that is on the books that they've partnered with and cut them off. And that will get these guys.
And that's by going in and asking to rescind. You find the year that the town joined, then you tell them what's actually going on and have success like you. And you believe the reason Trudeau went in right after you awakened council is because you knew what you were talking about. They decided not to go ahead with it. So he swooped in, and the people he was talking to, are they above the town council that decided not to go forward with the UN agenda? The men that Trudeau talked to after.
So that was the first one in Peterborough. Again, with that one, that was just a big wake-up call to Canadians and a wake-up call to the councils. And I am sure that the councillors at Peterborough, the city of Peterborough, had some questions, and that's why he flew in and he met with the mayor and the CAO and the mainstream news reporter for Peterborough's council, the lady who was sitting behind me while I was speaking, and she was like this and like this, and the other lady was the staff lady, and she was like when I started bringing up the exact reports. And that's why it's important. It sounds boring, but like we need to go into their reports. And on page 9, it says this, and on page 8, it says that, and that is how things get done. Is all this boring stuff that means.
I wonder if Trudeau swooping in to try to clean up a mess of you waking up city council, and him talking to the mayor, etc. I wonder if he's trying to get them to pressure the council to go through with this. Like, what is, I wonder, the purpose of Trudeau's trip?
I think to set them at ease, to make them feel special, to let them know they're on the right track, to let them know, oh, don't worry, Maggie Braun won't, you know, we'll take care of that. And I've been awake for quite some time. I ran in 2011. And I've seen my fair share of their tactics. So I know what to expect. And I've had things happen after that would have scared off the average person. But I just look at it like, oh, I'm on to something, because we stirred up the hornet's nest. The Canada Day weekend after that, there was a bomb squad outside of my house, and it was just a little bomb. And just things like that. And
What?
they're
Wait
just
a sec.
they're
You-
just trying
wait.
they're just trying to scare. They just want to
Oh, wait.
scare you, right?
You got a call or whatever saying there might be a bomb on your property?
Yeah, I went outside to pack the camper for Canada Day weekend, and the bomb squad was outside of the house, just on the other side of my property, taking care of just a little bomb. So these guys are just, it's all, I don't know. I don't operate in fear, and I think that really helps a lot. And I think as long as we're doing the right thing, then we're going to accomplish our mission. And that's more important than anything else. And that we are protected too. There's a lot of protection to people who are operating for the good of all, and not getting sucked into that fear mentality. Like, I'm not going to do anything because,
So the bomb squad was obviously tipped off there may be a bomb outside your house.
Yes.
I wonder if that was just a message they were sending to you.
That's kind of what I thought. That was it was just
Mm-hmm.
and like
Don't
I said,
mess with the central bankers, Maggie. You may end up getting Shermaned.
yeah, well, they've tried many different ways. We have to be mentally strong, right? When we do this kind of stuff. And I've been a big fan of the Stoics and Stoic philosophy, and just ancient wisdom in general. So I think if we just follow those principles, we're going to be on the right track, and we'll get a lot done in our lifetime if we can do that. So, and just focusing on things within our control is a big one too. And that's why focusing on our municipalities just makes so much sense, because we can have an influence there. We can get 20 to 60 people to our town halls, and
just the people that woke up from what happened, 3 years ago. There's already groups of people, so everybody knows people in their town or city that are involved. Like, I could make 20 phone calls for Vancouver right now and say, get the word out. There's about 20 entities in Vancouver that we all work together, not peacefully, but we all work together, and just go, okay, put your division aside. This is the next thing. Everybody come to town hall.
Yes.
And you designate the person who's the best, with presentations to do it.
And that's exactly it. We need to have the researchers. We need to have the watchers. So we know, okay, so they're doing a strategic plan, and here's the day we can go in and speak to it. We need to have the victims. We need to find the victims of their policies so we can bring their stories forward and bring them forward. And we need to have the speakers, right? There's some people who are really good at researching and not as good at speaking. And it has to be done tastefully and professionally. We can't go in there angry. If somebody comes to you with truth, but they speak it in anger, you're going to turn it off, right? And if you overwhelm them with information, they're going to turn it off. We just need to get to the point, lay it before them with our recommendations very clearly, and let them reconsider it, right? And keep coming back. Be persistent.
So just bring in the Maggie Braun presentation, and I'm going to tell you to say one more time where they can find it.
So you can find that on gather2030.substack.com. And the main page there is a blueprint of effective strategies to counter Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030. Gathering strategies, ways that we can bring the people together and connect. So a lot about networking, because ICLEI itself, it is a network of members and experts who are working together through peer exchange and partnership to create systematic change. So that's kind of what we need in order to counter them, is to be mindful of the fact that our network is one of our most valuable resources, and that we have experts and we have members. We have people that will show up. We have boots on the ground, right? And we need to work together through peer exchange. That means when one person does something and it works, that idea needs to go everywhere across the country, right? And partnerships. So we don't need to dissolve the groups, but we need to work together and realize, like, okay, like a pack of elephants here, when they're under attack, they all back up towards each other and form a circle, and they protect the babies in the middle, and they're facing out. They're not facing each other, attacking each other. They're facing out.
Yes.
So
That's
that's what we're up against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I can't stand about the freedom community is the people that like to make trouble and start saying nonsense about each other that they have no factual basis for. So let's not be idiots. So, okay.
Yeah.
So anybody watching this show, we all have our talents. If you feel tired, you don't think you can do this, share this with the people you know that can, take a day off social media and do this instead. Sending this to the right people, email them, phone them, text them, message them, tell them, let's do this. Because if you don't feel emotionally you can do it right now, somebody else will. That's what I always say, somebody else will.
Yeah. And it'll come to mind who to send it to, who in your community is already doing stuff in their town halls.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there more that you want to show, or are we good for today? So
yeah, I just wanted to share on Gather 2030, aside from the gathering strategies, there's defensive strategies and there's an offensive strategies. So Kickley is an offensive strategy, and it is unique to Gather 2030. So the other initiatives there, a lot of them are my thoughts, my ideas, but some of them, like Take Back Ontario and Take Back Alberta, and the Statement of Principles, they're coming from partnerships with other groups, right? And just showcasing them. So a lot of great information, and I'm doing Friday night meetings for people. Okay. So if they subscribe, it's free to subscribe, and you'll get an invitation and you can come to the Friday night meetings. And if you have any questions, we're developing other deputation and presentation templates that can easily be duplicated across the country. And
okay, so
yeah,
I just got a shiver from the top of my head down my body, which means when you said the Friday night thing, that's important, because I get shivers when something's correct. It doesn't happen very often where it's 100% correct. So everyone needs to join your Friday nights, join Substack, subscribe, and let's get this going.
Yes, because we need to build our capacity, right? We need to professionalize, build our capacity, and it's a lot of work, but it's better than doing nothing and spinning our wheels, knowing that we have a lot of work to do and not actually getting it done. We're better off just to get a little bit more organized every week, a little bit more effective, and we have experts all across this country who know this material even better than I can, but at least I have a platform and the ability to get that word out to people. So that's what I'm trying to do with my time here. So
last question, in your presentation, so when I watched your video, you were talking about how, you used to want to work for the UN, you were going into environment, and then you had a loud wake-up call. Is there something that people can copy in the presentation that talks about the science is actually not right, what you guys are saying, so that, because if we just go in and say this, and this, we need to get out of it, they'll say, well, we're in a climate emergency. Do you have a tidbit for people to say who aren't up on their science like you?
Oh, absolutely. So that's why I designed this presentation. I kind of jumped over that aspect of it, but
it's in there.
That presentation there.
Okay.
It goes over about half of the slides address the climate side of it. And we now have the World Declaration. Oh, I want to be careful not to say that word.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But that the statement that those scientists made is incorporated into that presentation. And then I've taken peer-reviewed studies, and it's basic stuff. It's like
It's the
you know,
declaration that there's no emergency.
that's right.
Okay.
It's
We know.
signed by, and that's by the Clintel Intelligence Group. And they have amazing material. They're the only large network of scientists that is looking at the IPCC, the International Intergovernmental Panel on the CC word.
Yep.
And and looking at the reports and showcasing how they're manipulating the science.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be actually utilizing mainly their work to put into these deputations so that it's irrefutable as far as our source that we're going to go with, and their work
And the
is
average
so well
city
done.
councillor would have to look into it. They wouldn't go, you're wrong, you're wrong. They don't even know anything except the propaganda they've been hearing for the last 10 years, you
Yep.
know, like
And if
anybody
you-
else.
And if you look like the Partners for Climate Protection Program, what are they relying on? The IPCC. When you call your town clerk and you ask, why did we declare
Climate emergency, yeah. You can
yeah, that they'll say, well, because the Paris Agreement and because the IPCC report from 2015. So if those are their arguments, that is what we need to break down, right?
Okay,
We don't
and
go
that is
talking.
what you do. That is what you do in the Maggie Braun presentation that everybody's going to go rip off.
Yes, and like we don't go talking about 5G towers right now. Okay,
Yeah.
that's not what they're using. We need to be really, really focused on how we attack this narrative, and to do it in a way that will really help. And there was
5G is a whole different presentation at town halls. That's just a completely different presentation.
yes, and Geoff Snicer, he's changed his last name to Ryan, Geoff Ryan. He's a great guy to follow. He's out in the Kamloops or Kelowna area, but he's wonderful too, and he's doing some great presentations on sustainable development, and I love his work. He's also very focused. And could I put one more thing up on the screen?
Oh, of course. Let me know when it's there. I have to see it come up.
I think it's there.
There it is. All right.
So I just love this, and to me it holds so true. Sometimes your freedom is not taken away at gunpoint, but instead it is done one piece of paper at a time, one seemingly meaningless rule at a time, one small silencing at a time. And this is exactly how they've done it. One piece of paper in front of our councils, adopted and approved. And next thing we know, this PCP program is doing all of our municipal plans. And the only way to get out of it is to put this back in front of them and ask them to rescind it. So that is the method that we're taking. And we're going to be looking at the Federation of Canadian Libraries and other associations like the public school system, and what associations they have and what UN directives have they partnered with, and how did that partnership happen, so we can get that motion back in front of them, show them and educate them. And it takes a bit of time and working relationships and being friendly, nice, and some common sense, and that's the way forward. So we're pretty good here. We out of the over 4,000 municipalities, only 500 have partnered with this program, and that means that we need to protect the ones that haven't. So we still need to go in there and do these presentations so they know we don't want.
I was gonna say,
Yep.
It doesn't matter if your little red dot's not there. It could be that any moment it will be. You have to give them the education before they say yes. So definitely, it's almost beat them to it. You're almost at an advantage by going in ahead of time and beating them to it, because then they'll say to each other, oh God, here's that thing they were talking about. We're going to get a lot of pushback, you guys. I don't know if this is a good idea, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do we even want our hands tied to UN directives and our rural land abandoned? You know, why would an unelected international organization want to come in to a sovereign country and make it so that the people are driven off of the land and put into settlement areas and the land is left abandoned? Abandoned land, there's a reason why Canadians settled in the north. It wasn't because we wanted to live where it was cold. It was because if we don't occupy the land, then it's very easy to take that land over. And if the people are all stuffed in little cities and sick and poor, then it's even easier to take over that country. So, you know, it's serious times, and I encourage everyone, keep calm and hold the line. And if that line is your fence line, your rural line of your municipality, that is the area that you can save. And if you focus on that, just saving your geographical area, and we all do the same thing, then we'll all just meet in the middle. And if the cities won't come with us, then they'll have to negotiate with us, because we're not gonna, yeah.
Yep.
The cities are gonna have to figure themselves out, and we'll just provide a place where freedom can still exist and keep it safe. So
I got to
you.
talk to you later about Vancouver, because I could go in and do a presentation there, but it's so corrupt here. But may as well make a presentation, tape it, put it online, and wake up the other cities.
Absolutely.
I mean, why go down with like a white flag?
Yeah. And there's a lot of people in the cities that want to get active, and I think it's great. Definitely go in and do the presentations. You're going to wake up so many people because more people see that. But if we really want to win, what I'm doing here in Peterborough is there's Peterborough City and then Peterborough County with all the rural municipalities that are in Peterborough County, right? So I'm going and I'm circling Peterborough City. I'm going to try and save all the smaller townships first, and then Peterborough City is going to be surrounded, and then we'll come for that, because we're going to have 100 people, dedicated people from each county that at the end of the day will converge on Peterborough City, and we'll go in there and we'll do our deputations with 1,000 people and the tractors and the trucks around that town hall. And that is the vision that I'm foreseeing, and that's how we'll save our city. We'll show them. Well, the people will show up and take back Alberta. One of his sayings is, the world is run by the people who show up. So we just need to show up. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. And he did a great job. Wow. He was so effective.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Maggie, thank you so much. If there's anything you want to send me that's new, or Odessa, get this out, please email me. And, you know, heroes come from the most unexpected places, and you're one of them. And, you know, the least we can do is, with everything you've done, is take the package you made us with your hundreds and thousands of hours of blood, sweat, and tears. We get the lazy route, rip off the project and bring it in, and make sure you get it online, what you're doing, because the effect when something's online spreads. I was going to say like a virus, but then my terrain theory friends will get mad. So yeah. So, but yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Is there any last words you need before we go?
Yeah, the presentation is there for everyone to download. It's in Google Slides. I've done a pre-recording of me speaking it out loud so people can listen to it, they can see it, they can download it, they can print it, they can go over it. And then when you're ready, take it on in there and reach out to me for further support on the Friday night meetings. And I'm looking forward to meeting more people from BC, and I'll be out in British Columbia on Victoria on May 28th, I believe.
So Victoria, Vancouver Island, yep.
May 28th with We Unify, and I'll be speaking there with Christine Nagel and from Frontline Nurses, and Artur Pulowski will be there too. So all three of us will speak that night, and I'll be sharing this.
Is that Jonathan Bauer?
It is, yes.
So he sent me an email if I want to get involved too, but I thought it was a July thing. Is this something different, the May thing?
Yep, I know that
Okay.
every month they have speakers, but they
Okay.
are planning like a bigger conference.
I think it's
So-
July or August. Yeah, summer.
Yeah.
Okay. Good
So
to
I'm
know.
going to take a trip out there, and if anyone from Victoria Island would like to get together that week, I'd be happy to meet some people down there and do some other meetings while I'm down there and get this information out person to person. So
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie, and we'll keep in touch.
okay, thank you, Odessa,
You're
and
welcome.
everyone watching.
You're welcome. Well, there you have it. We have the solution in front of us. Will we get off social media, Netflix, our coffee and our wine just for long enough to actually go into your town and do this? Why not? I mean, you're just going to go in, look where you're going to overwhelm them with your intelligence because they don't even know what you're talking about, half these people. So please do it. It's been 4 years of this. The nightmare is not going to end if we don't do something. So get on that Substack, get on the Friday night meetings, share the bejujis out of this video. If you need to clip parts, upload it, download it, rip it off, other podcasters want to use any part of this. If other podcasters want to get in touch with Maggie, please do. This is so important, you guys. I will be back tomorrow with Celeste Solam, who used to work for FEMA, because they're doing a lot of really interesting rewrites of human rights down there in America with FEMA, and it's all related to the UN as well. We all know that. So I'm happy to have her on tomorrow as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Did you know if the banks do a bail-in, they can take the contents in your bank vault? But storing your gold and silver at home could be a huge security risk. Every day, our dollar is worth less and less. Inflation is stealing the only savings families have. Now more than ever, it's so important to hedge the savings you've worked so hard for. Banks have been failing all over the world, and social credit has all but arrived.